Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless Official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Under the golden glow of the Abbott living room, tension hung in the air so thick it could have been cut with a knife. Jack Abbott stood frozen, eyes locked on Nikki Newman, whose trembling lips formed the words that would unravel decades of buried lies. "This is your father." Her voice cracked with emotion as she turned toward Matt, her hand trembling as it pointed toward Jack. For a moment, no one breathed. Time seemed to stall between the three of them, a shattered triangle of secrets, heartbreak, and revelation. Jack's mind spun, his world tilting as the weight of Nikki's confession hit him square in the chest. Matt Clark was his son. His son. The words echoed like thunder through his head, tearing apart everything he thought he knew about his past, his choices, and his love for Nikki. "No," Jack whispered, his voice barely audible, his throat dry. That's not possible." "Nikki, what are you saying?" But Nikki's tearful eyes told him it was true, every painful, earth-shattering word. Nikki took a deep, trembling breath, her gaze locked on Jack's shocked face. "I didn't want to do this now," she whispered, her voice cracking with years of guilt. "I didn't want it to come out this way, but it has to. You deserve the truth, Jack. You always did." Jack could barely process the words. His heart pounded in his chest, images flashing through his mind, the wild nights he and Nikki had shared, the emotional aftermath of Victor's betrayals, the way she'd disappeared one summer, claiming she needed space. That was the same summer she left town, and months later, rumors spread that she'd been hiding out with a secret. He chalked it up to her needing to escape the Newman-Abbott chaos. But now, standing before her, seeing the tears streaking down her face and Matt's confusion growing by the second, it all came crashing together in a painful, impossible puzzle that suddenly made sense. "Jack," Nikki said again, stepping closer, her voice trembling but firm. "When I left town back then, I was pregnant. I didn't tell you because I didn't even know for sure who the father was at first. My life was chaos, Victor was furious, you and I were off and on, and I panicked." She pressed a hand to her chest, her breath shuddering. "When I found out I was carrying your child, I thought I was protecting everyone by keeping it a secret. I thought I was sparing you. But I was wrong." Jack staggered backward, gripping the edge of the sofa for balance. His world was tilting. "You what?" His voice was sharp, full of disbelief. "You found out? You knew he was mine and you didn't tell me?" He laughed bitterly, though there was no humor in the sound. "All these years, Nikki, all the times we talked, the times we almost found our way back to each other, and you were hiding my own son from me?" Matt's head snapped back and forth between them, his eyes wide, searching for truth. "Wait, what are you saying?" he demanded, his voice breaking. "Are you saying Jack Abbott is my father? That everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie?" His breath came fast, ragged. "You can't just drop something like that on me." Nikki reached for him, her voice raw with regret. "Matt, please, I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I should have told you years ago, I know that now. But I was scared. You were so young, and your life was already filled with enough pain and confusion after what happened with Victor. I didn't want to destroy what little stability you had left." Jack's face twisted with fury and heartbreak. "Stability?" he spat. "You thought lying to your own son and keeping him from his father would give him stability? Nikki, you've always said you wanted honesty, that secrets destroy families. And now you tell me I've been walking around Genoa City all this time with my own son right under my nose?" Nikki wiped at her tears, her voice quivering. "You have to understand, Jack, I didn't even know if you would want him. You were dealing with your own battles back then, Dina's illness, Ashley's breakdowns, your own demons. I convinced myself I was doing the right thing. But watching everything fall apart again lately, watching you suffer, watching Matt fight his way through so much pain, I couldn't keep lying anymore." Jack's expression softened for a fleeting second as he looked at her, the woman he once loved so deeply, the mother of his newly discovered son. But then his anger surged again. You took away my right to know, Nikki. My son's right to know. His voice broke as he turned toward Matt, his eyes glistening. Matt, I had no idea. If I had known. Matt shook his head, disbelief etched across his face. Just don't say you would have been there, he said bitterly. Because where were you when I needed a father? Where were you when I was growing up wondering why I never fit anywhere? He took a step back, his hands shaking. I've spent my whole life trying to understand who I am, and now you're telling me I'm an Abbott? His voice cracked, and his anger gave way to pure confusion. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about my mother, it's all a lie. Nikki sobbed softly. I didn't mean for it to come out like this, sweetheart. I was going to tell you both, I just didn't know how. But Jack wasn't done. When, he demanded, his voice sharp with pain. When it was too late. When one of us was in the ground. Nikki, you've done a lot of things in your life, and I've forgiven you for most, but this, he shook his head. This is unforgivable. Nikki's shoulders slumped. I don't expect forgiveness, Jack. I couldn't let the truth die with me. Matt deserved to know who his father really is. You deserve to know, too. Whatever happens now, I had to set things right. Jack's eyes glistened as decades of history flashed before him, the love, the heartbreak, the betrayals that had shaped both their lives. And now this. The idea that he had a son, not a nephew, not a distant connection, but a son, changed everything. He looked at Matt, seeing now the similarities he'd ignored for years. The stubborn jawline, the intensity in his eyes, the fire that reminded him so much of himself at that age. How had he not seen it before? Matt, Jack said quietly, his voice trembling, I don't expect you to believe this right away. I barely believe it myself. But if there's one thing I can tell you right now, it's that I would have been there for you if I'd known. I would have done anything for you. Matt stared at him, his chest heaving, torn between anger and heartbreak. You can't just walk into my life now and fix it, he said, his voice cracking. You can't just claim me because you found out today. You weren't there when I needed a dad. You don't know what I went through. Jack's face fell. You're right, he whispered. I don't. But I want to. If you'll let me, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for what you lost. The silence that followed was suffocating. Nikki stood there, tears running freely down her face, watching the two men she loved most, one from her past, one from her present, struggle to process a truth that had the power to destroy or heal, depending on which direction they chose. Then, softly, Nikki broke the silence. It was the night before I left Genoa City, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You remember, Jack? You came to see me after Victor's party. You told me you loved me and you begged me not to go. We were both a mess, both broken in our own ways. That night, that's when it happened. Jack's eyes widened slightly, remembering the moment, the desperate embrace, the way they'd clung to each other like lifelines. That night, he said slowly, his voice cracking. God, Nikki, if I'd known. Nikki nodded. By the time I realized I was pregnant, I couldn't face you. I thought Victor would never forgive me, that the world would never understand. So I left. And when Matt was born, I told everyone his father was gone, that it didn't matter. But it did matter. It mattered every single day. The memories clawed at Jack's heart as he sank into a nearby chair, overwhelmed. All these years, I thought my biggest regret was losing you, he murmured. Now I realize it's never knowing him. Matt's voice softened slightly. So, everything I've felt, the way I never quite fit anywhere, the tension every time I saw you, that was real? I wasn't imagining it? Jack looked at him, his eyes wet. You felt it because it was there. You're my son, Matt. And no matter what's happened, that's not going to change. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was deafening, filled with years of missed birthdays, lost time, and unspoken questions. Finally, Matt exhaled shakily. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "I don't know how to just accept that everything's different now." Jack stood slowly, crossing the room toward him. "We don't have to figure it out tonight," he said softly. "We just start. One step at a time." Nikki looked between them, her heart aching but hopeful. "I know I've caused so much pain," she whispered, "but maybe this, the truth, can finally heal something." Jack hesitated, then nodded slightly. "Maybe," he said quietly. "But it's going to take time. For both of us." He turned to Matt again, his voice thick with emotion. "You don't have to call me Dad. You don't even have to talk to me if you don't want to. But I need you to know. I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere." Matt blinked hard, his jaw trembling as he fought the swirl of emotions flooding through him. "I don't know if I can forgive you," he said to Nikki, his voice cracking. "But I get it now. You were scared. You thought you were doing what was best. I just wish you'd trusted me enough to tell me sooner." Nikki reached for him, her hand trembling. "I wish that too," she whispered. The clock ticked softly in the background, filling the heavy silence that followed. 3 lives forever changed in the span of a few words. "This is your father." Jack took a deep breath, looking at Nikki, then at Matt. "We can't change the past," he said quietly, "but maybe we can build something new from it." Nikki's eyes glistened with fragile hope. "That's all I ever wanted," she whispered. "For you to know the truth. For him to finally have both his parents." Jack nodded slowly, his gaze softening as he looked at Matt, his son, his unexpected legacy. "Then maybe," he said, his voice low and steady, "this isn't an ending after all. Maybe it's just the beginning." And as the 3 of them stood there, the air thick with pain and possibility, Genoa City's most shocking family secret finally saw the light of day, a truth powerful enough to shake the Abbott and Newman empires to their core, and to forever redefine what family truly means. The air inside the Abbott mansion remained thick with emotion, the kind of silence that screamed louder than any argument. Jack stood motionless near the fireplace, his hand gripping the mantle as if it could anchor him to reality. The truth had detonated like a bomb, and its smoke still hung over them. Nikki stood across from him, her eyes red and glistening, while Matt hovered near the doorway, too shaken to move. For a long, unbearable moment, no one spoke. Only the ticking of the antique clock filled the space, steady and haunting. Jack's mind was spinning. He could still hear Nikki's voice echoing in his head, "This is your father." Those words didn't just reveal a secret, they shattered decades of illusion and rewrote the very foundation of his life. He turned toward Nikki slowly, his voice rough and ragged. "You've lied to me before, Nikki. We both know that. But this," his voice broke. "This isn't some affair you wanted to keep hidden or a scandal you were trying to cover up. This is my son. My flesh and blood. How could you look me in the eye all these years and never tell me?" Nikki wiped a tear from her cheek, her hands trembling. "Jack, please. You have to understand, back then, everything was chaos. You and Victor were at each other's throats, my life was spinning out of control, and I didn't even know what was right anymore. I thought keeping the secret was protecting everyone." "Protecting?" Jack repeated, incredulous. "From what? The truth?" He took a step closer, his voice rising with anger and heartbreak. "Do you know what you stole from me? From him?" He pointed toward Matt, whose head was bowed in silent disbelief. "You robbed us of years, Nikki. Decades. I could have watched him grow up. I could have been there for his first game, his first heartbreak, his first real victory in life. Instead, you buried the truth because you were afraid of what people would say." Tears spilled freely down Nikki's face. "I know I hurt you, Jack. I know I hurt both of you. But I swear, I thought I was doing what was best. I didn't want to ruin your life or his. Victor. Don't you dare bring Victor into this," Jack snapped, his eyes blazing. This isn't about him. This is about us. About what you did. Matt finally lifted his head, his voice raw with emotion. So, let me get this straight. You had me, and you just pretended I wasn't his? His words were sharp, each syllable cutting through the tension like glass. All my life, I thought my father was gone. That I didn't have anyone. You let me believe I was alone when all along, he was right here, living in the same city, walking the same streets. Nikki tried to reach for him, but he flinched away. Matt, I wanted to tell you, she pleaded. I almost did so many times. But I kept thinking about how complicated things already were. Jack was married, he had other children, and what? Matt interrupted bitterly. You didn't think I'd fit in with the perfect Abbott family? You didn't think Jack would want me because I didn't come from the right background? He let out a harsh, humorless laugh. Guess what, Mom? You made sure of that. Nikki crumbled onto the couch, her hands covering her face as she sobbed. I know, she whispered. I know I was wrong. I just wanted to protect you both. But the truth has a way of finding you no matter how far you run from it. Jack ran a shaking hand through his hair, trying to calm his racing thoughts. His anger was beginning to give way to something deeper, grief, regret, and a strange, unexpected sense of connection to the young man standing before him. He looked at Matt again, and this time, the resemblance was undeniable. The stubbornness in his expression, the spark in his eyes, even the way he clenched his fists, it was like watching a younger version of himself. Matt, Jack said quietly, his voice softer now. I know this is a lot to take in. Believe me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it too. But I need you to know something. He stepped closer, his tone earnest. I'm not angry at you. None of this is your fault. I'm angry at the situation, at the lies, at all the time we lost. But not at you. Matt's jaw tightened, his eyes glistening. I don't even know what to say to you, he admitted. I've spent my whole life wondering who I was. And now, suddenly, I have this whole other family I never knew about. It's too much. Jack nodded slowly. I understand. You don't have to make sense of it right now. You don't have to accept it. I just want you to know that I'm here. Whenever you're ready. Nikki lifted her tear-streaked face. Jack's telling the truth, Matt. He deserves a chance, and so do you. I can't undo the past, but maybe you two can build something from this. Matt turned toward her, his expression torn between fury and heartbreak. You've been lying to me my whole life. I don't even know who you are anymore. Nikki's voice cracked. I'm still your mother, she whispered. And I'll love you no matter how much you hate me right now. He looked away, blinking hard, his chest rising and falling with uneven breaths. The silence between them was unbearable. Jack looked at the two of them, the woman who had defined so much of his past, and the son he never knew existed, and realized that his entire world had changed in the span of one conversation. A knock on the door startled them all. It was Ashley. She stepped into the room, her expression puzzled as she took in the scene, Nikki's tears, Matt's trembling posture, Jack's ashen face. What's going on in here? She asked cautiously. Jack hesitated, then looked at her with a haunted expression. Ashley, there's something you need to know. Ashley's brow furrowed. What is it? Jack's voice trembled. Matt isn't just Nikki's son. He's mine. Ashley froze, her mouth falling open. What? She gasped. Jack, that's impossible. Nikki's son, Matt Clark? You can't be serious. Nikki nodded slowly. It's true, Ashley. I've been hiding it for years. I thought I was protecting everyone, but all I did was cause more pain. Ashley's shock quickly gave way to disbelief and anger. Jack, are you sure about this? Have you seen any proof? DNA results? Anything? Nikki's voice was firm now, though it still trembled. I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. I found old records, doctor's notes from when I was pregnant. Jack is the father. Ashley looked at her brother, searching his face for confirmation. Jack, she said softly, this changes everything. Jack gave a small, broken laugh. You think I don't know that? My whole world just flipped upside down. Ashley turned to Matt, studying him closely for the first time, and then her expression softened. Now that I'm looking, I can see it, she murmured. The resemblance. The eyes. He's an Abbott, no doubt about it. Matt looked uncomfortable under her gaze. I don't even know what that means anymore, he muttered. Ashley